A short story that can cause an attack of tenderness even in the most callous person. We are mentally transported across the ocean, to America. Washington County, Tennessee Animal Shelter. No matter how good the shelter is, it's just a shelter. It is good when tailed pupils are fed, treated, cared for and placed in good hands. But people decide everything, or rather, their attitude to the matter. The usual human indifference, the desire to understand and help. And let's just talk about the dog. A good friend of the author of these lines once aptly put it. A dog is also a man. Perhaps one should agree with this statement. And now to business. Roscoe the dog, the most common shelter dog. He came to the shelter quite young, almost like a puppy. Even got a nickname here. They picked him up off the street. The most common situation, absolutely predictable and everyday. But the shelter staff suggested that Roscoe was surrounded by some kind of mystery, some kind of understatement. He stood out sharply from all the other dogs. They seemed to be wide open. They were also picked up from the street, hungry, cold, emaciated. Pulled from the paws of the flayers. Fed. Shaped. The dogs were filled with gratitude for their salvation, tried to please, made friends with one of the employees. This is a normal natural reaction. Dogs feel kind to themselves and respond with even more kindness. But Roscoe was not like that. He lived in the orphanage for 3 years, but he never made friends with anyone. He was always on his own, on his own. He was always independent, emphatically independent. He accepted the food, but did not crumble in gratitude. Just lived. I'm alone against a big hostile world. The workers understood that Roscoe had given everyone a difficult riddle that had to be unraveled by all means. But how to do that? Where to begin? Well, why can't dogs speak? For sure it would be possible to find out the whole history of the dog. The decision came unexpectedly. To make a post on social networks. Upload photos, write bright text. There is little hope, but suddenly? There really is a rule of several reposts, and it really works. After a while, the phone rang at the shelter. The caller identified himself as a farmer. His farm was located at a decent distance from the shelter, and the call was made rather for the sake of clearing his conscience. The bottom line is this. 3 years ago, the owner's favorite puppy disappeared right from the farm. Like sinking into the water. They called him, searched for him, but there were no results. For a while, a person looked through ads and photos of dogs in shelters, and then resigned himself to the loss. Roscoe looks like the missing puppy, but it's unlikely to be him. The farmer was invited to visit the shelter. And now we advise impressionable readers to get handkerchiefs. The man went to the enclosure, the workers opened the door. The dog seemed to shudder, stretched out, greedily sniffing the air. The first reaction is fear and distrust. But suspicion soon gave way to genuine joy. And then what happened happened. Roscoe, who had had enough of hardships, began to cry. His owner also shed a tear. Happy ending. Happy reunion after years. Yes, and Roscoe was not Roscoe. His real nickname is Runt, Shorty, in translation. The isolation of the dog was also explained. He simply remained faithful to his master. He knew that one day the door would open and he would come. So it happened, by a happy coincidence. For the only time in 3 years, the gloomy and unfriendly Roscoe allowed himself to be stroked and hugged. And only a loving owner managed to do this, and no one else. Christmas story? Certainly yes. These two deserve their happiness. Now the faithful dog is already at home, on his own farm. Let's hope that all the troubles in his life are far behind.